Hello, I'm here to talk about Silca, which is one of the iconic brands in cycling. Silca is an Italian brand which is over 100 years old and made some of the most amazing floor pumps. Every good bike shop probably in the world has a floor pump made by Silca. They often last 10-15 years and get passed on from one mechanic to another. But they slightly fell into disrepair as a company over the last 10 years, lost their way a little bit, but were given a new lease of life when some of the product guys from Zip left Zip, bought Silca, took Silca's sort of IP from Italy and over to the US, and the brand's been completely reinvigorated. It's a really interesting brand now, do some amazing products, really kind of making tools and pumps and stuff sexy again. And it's a sort of really cool marriage of sort of Italian design flair and some of the R&D of what Zip were when they were at their sort of pomp. So it's really cool, and it's the sort of stuff that, you know, when you get to use Silca stuff, it's more than just a tool and stuff. It's something that's actually quite tactile and pretty cool. From the top, probably the sort of halo product they do is called is the HX1, which is a toolkit from them. They actually call it the Essentials toolkit, which I think is really funny because the standard one's £125, and this is the anniversary edition, which is £200. And to call a £200 toolkit an Essentials is quite rich even for myself. But I think it's pretty cool what they've done. Nice presentation box. The only difference between this one and the one at £125 is the box. The other one comes in beech. This is a really nice walnut box, and it's got a stainless little logo and it's been hand painted. So you're paying £75 for the privilege of that, but it makes a pretty cool gift, and it's the sort of thing that if you got for Christmas, you'd be a happy bunny indeed. Inside, you can see, got a whole range of hex and then Torx and then adapters and such like. If you read the gubbins about it, they talk about some proprietary steel made by German and Swiss tool manufacturers have been using. It's incredibly hard and anodized, and it's got a chrome finish, and then it's got this sort of plastic elastomer thing to hold, to makes it really, anti-slip and sort of stuff. So, it's a lot of fancy words, but the key takeaway is it's just a really cool bit of kit. You've got the irrational perspective, which is just, nice tactile tools are cool. It's just a pleasure to be tinkering with your bike on things like this. But there's also a sort of a rational point of view, which is because the steel's so hard and it's so precisely machined, they work beautifully with expensive stems and tie bolts and such like, and you're not going to round out or ground out your stem bolts like you might do in a cheaper one. And the amount of people who call the shop the day before a training camp in a panic because they can't get their stem off because they've managed to ground it out using a cheaper £5 Allen key. So it's the sort of thing that if you've got an expensive bike and you adjust it off and invest in decent tools, it's a lot of money once, but then it lasts 20 years or so. And it's the sort of thing that if you want something nice for Christmas, it's a pretty cool bit of kit. So it's the sort of thing that you think it's an indulgence to buy, and then you get it and you go, oh, that's cool, and it lasts you forever. So big fan of the HX1. This here is Silca's phone wallet. Silca being Silca, it's ridiculously over-engineered. It's £40, which is quite a lot of money for a phone wallet. But and I'm not a massive, fan of phone wallets. I must admit, I normally just put my phone in my pocket. But so I'm probably not a natural buyer of this. But I know plenty of people who are. And if you're in the market for a phone wallet, this has got a lot going to it. It's first of all, it's just really well made, really tough material, just looks a premium bit of kit. This reflective band actually goes, so the pocket, the phone goes in your pocket, and then this band goes over it, so it actually reflects on the outside, which is pretty cool. And then inside you've got usual gubbins here. This is completely waterproof section. It's almost like an Oakley bag inside, and you play space for your cards and such like. So not a massive amount to talk about. A phone wallet, it does what it says in the tin, keeps your phone dry, you know, stores your parts, but it's just got enough design little features to make it, you know, the nicest phone wallet I've ever seen. Silca, you know, made their name in pumps, floor pumps to start with, so they take their pump game very seriously. They have a number of different pumps. Obviously you've got your iconic floor pumps, and they have a number of different pumps when you are riding a bike. Got really big frame pumps, which are really cool, but I'm not a massive fan of frame pumps. They're so big, they weigh over 300 grams, and they do a great job, but 300 grams is more than most carbon forks are these days, and it just seems slightly irrational to be lugging all that weight around for something which should be hopefully a relatively infrequent occasion of getting a puncture. Almost feels like people who have big frame pumps are almost doing it as a sort of, you know, design statement rather than a rational purchase. You also then have the complete opposite end of that, which is these tiny little pocket pumps, which some brands do. I'm guilty of this. You know, you get the smallest floor pump, pocket pump you can. You get the smallest pocket pump you can, because you want to save weight, but it's a token effort, and the pump's rubbish. And if you get a puncture, you're like, you know, you're doomed. You might get up to 50 psi. Your hands are red raw because it's so hard to do. The pump is burning hot because it's, you know, it's badly designed. And basically, if you get a puncture in a group, you're desperately looking around for your group to see who's got a better pump than you do. So this is Silca's attempt at that. It's not a pocket pump. They do a beautiful Ipiro pocket pump, which was like a bestseller last year, which is really nice. This is designed not to go in your pocket, but to go on the frame. There's a little bracket for your water bottle bosses. They do two versions. They do the £50 version, and then the £120 version, which is Bluetooth enabled. To talk about it as a base pump to start with, £50, you know, it's just really nice. It's the downside of Silca being so well made is that it's all metal rather than plastic, so it's slightly heavier than a plastic pump, but that's a tiny thing to consider. But it just feels a premium product. Really nice. The US magazine said it's a sort of pump you're looking forward to getting punctures on, which is probably the stupidest thing I've heard in cycling, but I kind of know what they mean in terms of, you know, if you get a puncture, you're not dreading it because at least you know it's going to work. And it's just, you know, it's just really, you know, tactile and beautiful. If I just showed here, the hose is built in, and then this is your clamp mechanism, which again is just metal and nicely made. It's got a really clever design so that the heat gets dissipated, so when you're pumping it doesn't get too hot. It says it goes up to 120 psi. Haven't been able to prove that. We got up to 90 and it started getting hard, but on sort of 27mm tyres that we're riding, 85 psi is more than enough, so it passed the test there. So as a £50 frame pump, highly recommended. To talk about it in its Bluetooth configuration, which is this one here at £120, that's an eye-watering amount of money for a frame pump, and we were skeptical to start with. I won't deny it. I just thought that's an awful lot of money for a pump. But having used it, I actually think it's pretty cool. I did a blind test. I let my tyres down and then I pumped them up to what I thought was a decent pressure, and then did the Bluetooth thing, and then was kind of shocked to see that it was only 65 psi. And if you think about, you do say a 100k ride and you puncture after 20k, You know, this is not a sort of limp home thing. You know, you're going to be riding 80k with the wrong pressures, which A means your running distance will be wrong, so you won't be riding as quick as you wanted to, and also, you know, too low a pressure. You know, you might get a dreaded second puncture, and then a third puncture, and then all of a sudden you're in dire straits. So this thing, you know, it's effectively trying to be as good as your floor pump at home. So this isn't a sort of limp home thing. This is a proper bit of kit. And the other thing I've just realised, what would be amazing about this is, if you go and do your A race of the year or a big training camp, often because you're flying, you don't take a floor pump with you, which means your rides back home in the UK, you've got, you know, your PSI down to, you know, to 2 or 3 PSI accuracy, and then you go and do your A race of the year and you're kind of winging it, which just seems wrong in all sorts of metrics. Whereas you can bang this in your bike box, and then you can pump, you know, your tyre up to the exact PSI, and you're laughing. So in a way, this isn't just a frame pump, it's almost like a mini, you know, race track pump replacement. So it's really cool. The only thing I was slightly concerned about was Bluetooth and how quickly it synced. So far it's been pretty good. We tried it 3 times to sync, and it synced twice really quickly, and once took like 30 seconds or so to sync. I need to continue to check that, because the one thing I think would drive you insane is if it's pissing down with rain and you with a group of 5 mates and everyone was cold and wanted to start riding again, and you were sort of sitting by the side of the road looking at your pump not pumping, and people were shouting at you about why weren't you fixing your tyre, and you were saying, oh, I need to wait for my Bluetooth to sync. I think if you did that, you would run out of mates quite quickly. So, you know, that's something that we need to test more and more, but so far so good. So, you know, £120 for a frame pump is a lot of money, and it's almost exactly the same price as the Ipiro pocket pump, which I really like, and I'm split on which one I prefer. I think the Ipiro's, you know, a much more kind of versatile pump in terms of you put it in your pocket, it's so light and it's just really nice. This one I thought was slightly indulgent, but the more I think about it in terms of the fact that it's, you know, so versatile in terms of you can use it, you know, on training camps as a floor pump replacement, and just as incredibly accurate. It's actually pretty cool. I think it's the sort of thing that, you know, the more you ride it and use it, and the more you appreciate it, which is always the hallmark of a good product. You know, the more you use it, the better you enjoy it. That to me is something going in the right direction. So yeah, a skeptic has become a convert on this. This is the Premio Saddlebag. It comes in 2 versions. They're just a normal Premio, which is the saddlebag in itself, and then the Premio Loaded, which is this plus the Swiss Army Knife 13 tools kit, and then a CO2 head. It's pretty cool. You know, I mean, it's hard to make saddlebags sexy, but this does a pretty good job of it. It's got a boa, which is probably the first time I've seen a boa in a saddlebag. This is heavy cotton with wax, so it's completely waterproof. And then what's really clever is, if you can see here, the thread, the thread's reflective, so at night it shines, just gives you a bit more security. So it's sort of these small little details that, to me, show Silca at its best. It's taking fairly mundane products and just engineering and designing them to the nth degree, so that, you know, they're taking sort of fairly prosaic, boring things in bikes and making them beautiful and tactile, which I think is pretty cool. The standard Premio is simply this saddlebag, and then the loaded one is the saddlebag plus the Swiss Army Knife plus the CO2 head. They claim it's the lightest CO2 head in the market, and it's pretty light and pretty cool with the little Italian flags on it. That's about £18 on its own. That's £40 on its own. So if you don't have decent tools and you buy it as a loaded kit, the bundle price becomes, you know, better value than buying them a la carte. But if you've already got decent tools, then you know, just buy this on its own. But whatever you do, you know, I think this is a really good saddlebag. I think you know, as I said before, there's not a great deal to say. You can't spend 12 minutes talking about Saddlebag reviews, but the fact that you're talking about a Saddlebag in itself is a pretty big testament to how